My name is Darren Doyle. I'm the creator of a new Mega Drive book called the Mega Book Collection, and we're live here now on the SEGA Lounge to have a chat.
Welcome to the SEGA Lounge, a podcast dedicated to our love for all things Sega, be it the games, the music, or the community. I'm KC. In each episode, I'll be talking to different guests and sharing their projects and their passion for Sega. Hello everyone, we're back! I apologize for the 2-week break between the last episode and this one that you're listening to right now. Life and other engagements got in the way. But I'm mostly sure that the rest of the season will go without a hitch. I mean, we've only got a few episodes left anyway. That said, much has happened in the world, including the world of Sega, but I'd like to highlight 3 things, if I may. First of all, the latest batch of retro-compatible Xbox games got announced, and included in those is Binary Domain. I've talked about it on the show not that long ago, and I got the chance to play through it again a few days ago. It's still as brilliant as I remembered, and I urge you to go play it if you can. Second up, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 on the Mega Drive turned 29 years old this very week. I still remember exactly the day that I got it and how it felt to play it for the first time. It was a bit late at night and I only got to play it for a few minutes, and I remember going to bed with the music from Emerald Hill Zone stuck in my head. Sonic 2 is still my favorite 16-bit Sonic game, and it's turning 30 next year, so maybe we should do a special show about it? Maybe. Finally, I wanted to mention Radio Sega's Fan Choice 2021 Awards. Every year, the station asks its listeners to pick their favorite song from Sega games released in the previous 12 months, as well as the best new remix made by the community. If you're not familiar with this, stick around until halfway through the show, as I'll share more details about it. Well then, what about this week's interview? Let's check it out. This week I'm joined by Darren Doyle, a man with a passion for video games and the creator of an upcoming book dedicated to the Sega Mega Drive. Darren is the man behind Greyfox Books, one of his many projects, and after publishing both an Atari and an arcade book, he is currently looking for your support on Kickstarter to get the Mega Book Collection to your doorstep. This is an amazing project focused on Sega's 16-bit powerhouse, and it's got the SEGA Lounge seal of approval, both figuratively and literally, as we are one of the endorsers featured on the Kickstarter page. Listen on as Darren shares a bit of his background and learn more about this new book. For those with little time, talk about the book starts after the SEGA Lounge challenge, but you wouldn't skip that, would you? Hello Darren, welcome to the SEGA Lounge. How's it going?
Thanks for having me here, Dave. It's brilliant to be here on your podcast today. I just wanted to reach out to you guys and let you know about a cool project that's coming, that's hopefully going to be starting up in mid-November. A lot of people have asked me to do this and get on board and let people know about the project and stuff. So I think I'll talk about myself for a minute or two. I'm a graphic designer from Ireland. I've been involved in retro games since 1981. I've been playing games since the age of 8. I started off, like everybody, got a home computer, to learn computers and programming and all these things on the Atari home computers. Grew up with all those computers and were playing games and started taking interest in doing graphics on them and music and all these creative things. It wasn't all just about games, but it was an amazing time to live through and experience all this stuff for the very first time as was happening,
Mm-hmm.
in the world, where today everybody has a PC, everybody has a high end mobile phone, and they're doing gaming and they're doing multiplayer gaming. It was a lot different. It was actually in its infancy.
It was
So
like the first time that people actually that computers were accessible to the masses in a way.
yeah,
And
yeah,
if in not really the masses, but more people, and but they were much different. The whole system was much different than people are
yeah.
used
Well,
to right now, right?
it was very expensive. Let's
Yeah.
put it that way. An awful lot of people couldn't afford a lot of these things until they became cheaper, obviously, and stuff like that. But it was actually a very closed circuit. You know the term geek, where he's a geek and all. Now these people, they love geeks. Everybody loves geeks now, what have you. But it was a very closed off type of culture to be in, because if you didn't have a computer or whatever, you didn't know about this stuff. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be stuff that you'd see in your local news agents or
Hmm.
anything like that. It was very specialized. And as computers started to be used more in the world and stuff like that, people started to see other markets. And I was there for when new genres were created in games and stuff like that. So have a huge history in video games, and the history of it now, because I lived through those time frames.
Hmm.
Um, so moving from the 8-bit platforms all the way up to the 16-bit era, with your Atari ST, your Commodore Amigas, um, really perfected the artwork and desktop publishing side of things. You had word processors and all that allowed you. They used to prime these computers as something to actually be productive on, doing all your
Hmm.
your your your, your spreadsheets and your databases and all that stuff, which all eventually turned into Excel and Microsoft Office and all these packages. But it was always about the games, and I was always fascinated by the technical achievements of what one programmer could do versus another programmer could do. And that's the way it was. And the homebrew scene, where working from home from your bedroom, produce a game, get it published, get it made, and all that type of stuff. Fascinating.
It's like we it's interesting that you mentioned that because it's like we came full circle with COVID, right? So
Yeah.
that's how it started, and thanks to COVID, many even the bigger companies and developers had to adapt in a way to allow developers to work from home and work on their projects on their rooms or something, or living rooms or whatever. So it's kind of
Absolutely.
interesting.
Absolutely, and my last book project that I done was based on classic arcade coin-up games,
Hmm.
and because of working from home, with the work that I was doing, once I got the work done, essentially your time was your own. So it actually enabled me to actually be able to continue working at this, where I wouldn't have been able to do so if I'd have been in the office. So you were in there 9 to 5. You had to wait until you got home. Then you had to juggle family life versus the work that you were doing on this project. So I actually have to thank the job for enabling me to do that. They don't know that I was able to do that, but I was able to do it, and successfully fund that on Kickstarter as well, and get that all made and get
Hmm.
it done. But yeah,
Yeah.
that was one thing about the COVID that allowed us to actually get
Hmm.
all that stuff done and made,
Yeah. Yeah.
and more
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
So it was brilliant to do that.
So you mentioned you lived through the different eras of video game development, and all the different. You mentioned
Oh,
the 8-bit era, the 16-bit era,
yeah.
all of that. Um, do you have a soft spot for any particular generation or style of game? Because there's a lot of nostalgia going on right now. Like so,
Oh, absolutely.
but
You
you
know,
lived through those years, and so maybe there's something that you still remember more fondly than others.
I can actually tell you the very first video game I ever played. It's actually that vivid. It was on the old Atari VCS,
Hmm.
the video computer system. It was a game by Activision called Laser Blast.
Okay.
The idea of the game was you controlled this flying saucer, and there was tanks on the bottom of the landscape, and you literally could only shoot down or at an angle. You couldn't control the laser, and I that was the very first game I ever played. And I actually have it in my collection. I actually have the game in its box. All that sort of prized as the very first video game that I ever played.
Okay.
Great memories of that. I even now and again, will go on the website and load up an emulator or whatever and just have a quick shot of it, or I'll play it on my phone, an emulator on my phone or something like that, and
Hmm.
just have a quick blast. So that was the universe being open to you. Essentially, when we grew up in these time frames with these games, they were evolving and evolving. So you actually could actually see the change of things getting better, graphics getting better, sound getting better. And to be able to live through that and see all these things and then play these games, you'd have never thought 30, 40 years ago that the way the games are today are just on a completely different level on things. And, you know, uh, seeing that different
Doesn't
generation.
mean they're better. Uh,
No, no,
it,
no. I can tell you
as
this. We're
games,
that,
right? That they can be better graphically or
yeah, and be a
technically,
terrible.
but doesn't really mean they're better games.
No, no, and believe me, these games didn't take you by the hands. These games were rough, hard, tough. You really worked your butt off until it came up. Congratulations on the screen, and you were there. A great sense of achievement because it was so difficult physically on your hands with the joysticks or whatever else, and then to get a congratulations, you've now completed blah blah blah, whatever it would be. You're there saying to yourself, there you go. You're smiling and you're rubbing your nails off your shoulder. With glee that you finished and completed these atrocities of difficulty. They were atrociously difficult. It was ridiculous. The
That's true. That's true. Have
the
you do you feel like I feel like this sometimes? I'm a bit younger than you. I feel like when I try to play some of the games that I grew up with,
mm,
I feel like first of all, I don't remember them being so hard. Also, I had a lot more time on my hands, but I also feel like I've lost a bit of the very few skills that I had at the time. I've lost a great deal of them, uh,
right,
and I feel like the games that I played as a child um, are harder now, and even games today that are really, as you said, they take you by the hand and
oh,
they show you where to go and everything. Maybe because I don't have the time to commit to them as much as I had before, but I feel like my skills have dwindled with time. Do you feel like that sometimes, or do you still feel like it's the same experience for you playing old games and stuff?
right. So for me, I think games today are way too easy, and it's not. When you spend that type of money on a game, you want narrative, you want a challenge, you don't want it too difficult, but you want a narrative that it's the balance is correct. Um, Playing the old games, when making these products or whatever that I'm working on, I have to go back to play these games. I have to try and sort of sharpen my game skills. And don't get me wrong, I found that some of the games that I played during the PlayStation era, PlayStation 2 era, I went back when, if it was on real hardware or emulation, that some of these games were difficult enough, but gave me higher reflex. And I found that I was able to actually play older games that were really tough, and be able to get much more further, deeper into them games because of the strategies I learned from present gaming, if that makes sense. Like
Okay.
games, I'm not talking about your Call of Duties or anything like that. I'm talking about games that require you to think, problem solve, or solve some sort of thing. That's what's great about indie developed games is they go back to that genre and they try to introduce these mechanics that getting the jump right and all this type of thing, or But the thing about the new games is you've got infinite goals to do it, where back in the day you didn't. You'd have 3 lives if you blew it on the 3 lives. So when I go back to play the old games, some of them are ridiculously bad, collision detection, all shocking in them and stuff like that. And you really pick up on that. You really see that how badly they were made in the first place. But still, a classic game would be one from Datasoft. Everybody would know if they had it on the Commodore 64, the Atari, whatever, is Bruce Lee. Now, the Bruce Lee game is a platform fighting game. It was tricky in parts, but I've noticed that some of the way games are done today, those mechanics are still there. So if I'm able to achieve them in newer games, and then go back to say play Bruce Lee, I can actually use that knowledge from the new games and sort of um, do it in the old games, try and mimic it in the old games. That can, and it can't, but there is some games that are ridiculous, no matter how good or bad you were at them. You're just, when you look at these long play videos online, you see these people not even getting a scratch. You're like, how did the guy, how did these guys do this? It's ridiculous, you know what I mean? They have to be, they're not human, they can't be. And speed run videos. You've seen the speed run
Yeah, 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 yeah.
things in 10 minutes. So it's absolutely ridiculous. But
That's commitment for you, by
it
the way.
is absolutely, absolutely.
I cannot commit to even I sometimes I find that I have a lot of games that I haven't completed yet.
Yeah,
So I can even commit to finishing a game, let alone like mastering it to a
yeah,
level that I can speed run it or just like do like one coin runs or one credit runs or
yeah,
whatever they
yeah.
are. Yeah.
Um, those type of games. I love games with narrative and I love storylines. But in saying that, when I played, say, The Last of Us on PlayStation, absolutely phenomenal games. Story, narrative, action, everything that you could ever want for. But then after a while, saying, when is this going to end? I keep
Hmm.
on thinking I'm near the end. I'm getting there and getting there, and then there's another half an hour gone, another hour gone, and so you do get fatigue. Some of the games can be like the Uncharted games and those type of games, Tomb Raider and all. They can sort of get you get fatigued because you're there. You think you're nearly there, and you're pulling out all the stops to be awesome in this game, not getting killed. Jumping and you're there, brilliant, and only you see it because nobody else is willing to sit with you while you play these games. I think with that, in saying that, you know, a game can be too long. It's very hard to find
Hmm.
that balance. And I think with the old games, there was no high expectations that this game was going to last for hours on end, unless it was a strategy game or an adventure game or something like that. But once you cracked it, it flew. It did flow quite quickly. So I think a lot of people today, they want the convenience of being able to jump in and jump out type of games. That's not really something I'm interested. I like
Hmm.
to explore all avenues of a game, because if the developer's taking the time to put in the effort to put these things in a room or something like that, you should always check every area of the game, and that's probably why the games take so long for me to finish, because I literally want the 100% experience. What's in this room? Where do I go here? And you're there about 20 minutes in an area that you should only really be spending 5 minutes in.
Yeah.
So
Have you tried the Yakuza games by Sega?
I have, yeah, played.
Okay.
I played the first two Yakuza games on PlayStation 2.
Uh-huh.
Played Justice as well. That's not really a Yakuza game, but
Judgment.
yeah,
Yeah.
Judgment. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely brilliant, phenomenal games.
That's my problem with Yakuza. I love them, but that's my problem with Yakuza games because you can get sidetracked really, really
Yeah,
fast.
there's too much to do.
There's there is, and it's all great and fun, but at some point there's a new game coming out, and I go and check that out, and then I need to go back, a few chapters previous to my progress to remember what I was doing,
Yeah,
or just restart the game altogether, with which I've done with a few of the
Yeah,
Yakuza
no,
games.
I've
Just
had to do
I
that.
spend too much time with the side stuff.
Yeah, it becomes a second life, really, doesn't it?
Oh yeah.
It's like you're leading a second life in a game. Your real world and then your virtual world of these games. And I think it's great that they do that. But if they didn't include it, do you think people would miss it? Do you think people would say, "Well, why isn't that in it? Why can't they play slot machines and all?" So the fact that they include that in is to give longevity to the experience of playing the games, I think. But I do agree with you, especially with the Devil May Cry games. Absolutely brilliant. And I'd play them and I'd be really far into them, and then I'd forget all about how to use the controls because something else has come along,
Yeah, yeah.
and I have to go back and I have to try and figure it out. And you'll get your ass kicked in the game when before you were death. You know what I mean? God of War was another one. I never got to finish God of War on PlayStation 4, which is an absolute travesty because it's such a good game. But I'll change that when the next one comes out. I promise to finish that one. But I do stick them out from start to finish. And never ever play another game while you're playing a game that requires commitment. That's the worst thing you can do. Like yourself, I've got games down there that I haven't even booted up yet. I have them about a
Yeah.
year now, going
Yeah.
into 2 years.
It's a nice problem to have, though, right?
It is good. It is good, but at the same time, I feel guilty about it because I'm sure the games are absolutely brilliant, and in some cases, I don't even get to play them because I'm either
Hmm.
too busy doing work on what are the projects I'm doing, or I'm working on something else with someone else. So it is trying to balance the time up, and then family life as well. On
Yeah.
top of that, as well, is there's not enough hours in the day.
Hmm.
It's
I'm trying to you know resist the temptation of getting new games just because I know they're supposed to be good and everyone's getting them. If I'm not able to play them when they first come out, because I've been guilty of that, of getting games at launch, that big games that everyone's playing as well,
mm,
and I don't have the time right there and then to play them, and they just sit there waiting. Then maybe I will never get to them, or maybe I will after a year or two. So what I've been trying to do lately is, if I'm able to play the game when it at launch, I'll get it, I'll play it. If not, I'll wait because I'll save some money.
sure.
And that same feeling of guilt for having the game and seeing everyone else playing it but not being able to experience it as well. So if I
Yeah.
don't have it, it's easier.
Well, you would have grown up, the this fifth and sixth generation of consoles, Super Nintendos and Sega Mega Drive Master System, all these things. What we used to do back in the day, and I still do it to this very day, which is even though if a brand new game comes out and it's the business and everybody says, oh yeah, you have to get this, you have to get that. I look for a specific style of game. I wouldn't if I had a game that involved me having to use my brain and figure out things. I will choose that 10 times over say Call of Duty or a multiplayer online game. I and that's the way I used to do it even back in the Mega Drive days, in the Super Nintendo days. It had to appeal to me in such
Hmm.
a way. I wasn't just going to
Hmm.
jump in because everybody has it. If it works for them, that's fine. I'm happy for you. Brilliant. But if it had to appeal to me personally, and it would be based on a certain genre as well. I'd like,
But that was easier to do back
yeah,
then, I think, as
yeah,
well, because you didn't have like social media, and you weren't being
yeah,
bombarded with all these images and all these comments of people saying this
yeah,
game is great. There wasn't, you had video game magazines at one point, but if you could just not even learn about a great game that everyone loves, because, for example, I'm from Portugal,
right.
and in my country, we didn't get the same information as I'm guessing you guys had in the UK or
Yeah,
in the
well,
US.
yeah. Over here in Ireland and the UK, we had magazines to rely on. They were your internet. You got to see what was coming out, what developers were doing. And it's gas because a lot of these magazines back in the day, with the scoops, sensationalized them a lot. And a lot of these games never actually showed up or actually ever came out. You could nearly do a whole episode on unreleased games and stuff like that. And when I was doing research for some of the stuff I was doing, I was astonished at the amount of stuff that didn't actually come out. And I remember reading about it indefinitely. And, when the games finally came out, a lot of them, some of them weren't up to be what they were cracked up to be. They weren't,
Yeah.
uh, they were promoted as this, or this is the next best thing. And they were mediocre or they were just okay. But I still do that today. I won't go out and, look at the latest PlayStation games or look at the latest whatever. It has to resonate with me. That will
Mm-hmm.
give me something. It'll be worth my while to play. I'm not really into casual gaming. I'll play it, but I won't, rely on casual gaming. But like back in the day, you had your magazines that gave you the information. And remember, a lot of these magazines, from the work that I was doing, we got to speak to a lot of these people that were involved in these industries, and a lot of it was made up. Magazines were as bad as the internet for telling lies, like to or misleading, just to sensationalize. Oh yeah, this is going to be in it. That's going to be in it, and then it would never happen, and all that type of stuff. But then you'd have people then referencing that as knowledge base, when they go to discuss or talk about whatever it is they're, whatever games they're playing. Well, your man worked on this and he never did, and this type of thing. So it's very hard when you're doing research on this type of stuff in
Yeah.
gaming that you wouldn't believe how much fabrication goes on. It's
Mm-hmm.
mind blowing,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Excellent. Okay, so Darren, I think we got a pretty good, idea of your background as a gamer.
Yeah,
But you've started some projects related to gaming. Was that something that you always dreamed of? Because I'm not sure if, like,
right,
professionally and originally, you were involved with video games in any capacity.
right. So it's very, very peculiar because it's not something that you're going to hear too often. Obviously, I grew up playing all these games. I met a lot of people. We did. This could be alien to a lot of your listeners. Pen pals, where we'd be sending letters to people, and work that we're doing. We'd send it on floppy disk or cassette, and we used to trade all this stuff and send pictures and all. It's unheard of now. It's all email now, with attachments and everything else. And we really became a great community of people. When I started to move away from the games and playing games, which I played an awful lot, I must add, I played thousands of games now at this stage. It started to fight. I started to fatigue on these games, and always wanted to, do something creative. I love the creativity that a lot of these that computers offer people. So, creative, visual creativity, drawing pictures on a paint program, creating music on a sequencer program, um, even down to editing video, dropping sound effects onto things. I also, when I was in college, I did a video games design course, which showed you all the different areas of game development. I never got into the coding aspect of it, but I got into the graphic aspect of it, the sound engineering aspect of it, even down to MIDI, composing music in MIDI, that type of thing, and then putting it all together with a collective of people. You might have a programmer, you might have an artist, a
Hmm.
musician, then video edit, sequences, rendered sequences, 3D studios, backs, and these type of packages that were all involved back in the day to bring game creation together. And that's where it sort of stemmed. But in the publication aspect of it, um, I had actually designed, because of the work I was doing and the proficiency I was doing it in, There was guys approaching me on the scene. Listen, we would you be interested in doing a fanzine or a magazine? Now, I wasn't using any desktop publishing program. We were doing it all in Photoshop. It was all created in Photoshop, so it was quite, rough around the edges. There was no page margins and any of these things that you need to actually do this type of thing.
Hmm.
And started to create these fanzines on the NES. A friend of mine contacted me about getting this project. Go to the people on the forums, get them to interact. Submit articles, submit reviews, this type of thing. He would give it to me, and I would design around the writing. The games, you'd have the internet, you could get the pictures, you could load up an emulator, grab the screenshots,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
all this type of stuff. But my love for Atari was very strong, so I ended up creating an Atari magazine, a digital magazine, and then I did three on the Atari ST. I always wanted to do one on the Amiga, but never got around to doing that. I just didn't have the time. But then I decided one day I'm going to do a book, just like that. There was
Okay.
no planning. There was no concept. There was no anything. I just said, right, I see all these other guys doing a book on these subjects. Why aren't they covering this subject? And I said, you know what, I'm going to change this. And I started working on a few concepts, a couple of ideas, you know, and came up with one that worked. I felt comfortable working with, designing and all this type of thing. And I started working on this stuff in the background. And then when I was ready enough to make an announcement, I had enough material there to showcase and show, look, this is what I want to do. What does everybody think? Got great feedback. Oh, yeah, this would be great. We'd love to see this, blah, blah, blah. And then decided, right, okay, I need to be able to get this made. And where do I go and how do I do it and what's involved,
Hmm.
what logistics are involved. And I created an Atari book called the Atari A Visual History, which was successfully funded on Kickstarter. And I really didn't have a clue about how I was going to do this and how am I going to get this shipped to people all around. I didn't even consider that people around the world would purchase it or would even support it. And even with that, so I hooked up with a crowd in the UK that done the fulfillment. So I got a consignment, the book shipped to me, the books went to them, created all these perks and gifts and things to go in with the book for people to, invest in collectibles and that type of thing. And couldn't believe it that was the very first book I ever done. Working on it for about 11 months
Okay.
before I actually went to Kickstarter with it. So uh, I don't believe in trying to get something made and then be doing it while it's funding. I'm nervous about that because I feel that if you fund something and it's not finished yet or it's not even made, the pressure's on you to get that made and get that done. Where
Hmm.
by making it previously, realistically, all I had to do was handle the logistics of actually getting it made and getting it out to people. So that's the way I work on the projects that I do. So got that made, got it funded, couldn't believe it. Everybody got it, everybody loved it. It's been sold on our website even to this day. This was
And just as
intention.
as a side for people listening in, if you go to the Greyfox Books, so I don't think we've mentioned the name of your uh, publishing house. It's Greyfox Books. So if you go to greyfoxbooks.com and you actually check out your visual history, an official Atari visual history, right?
Yeah, they're all unofficial because
Yes, of
if
course.
you're doing something like that and you're using a funding platform to
Hmm.
fund it, you can receive cease and desist from them. And what's
Yeah.
gas about the Atari book is uh, it's all about Atari, but yet there's very little
Hmm.
Atari signage in the book.
Hmm.
But see, you'd have to see it to know what I'm talking about. But they couldn't, it couldn't be,
It's not an officially licensed
it's not an
product.
officially
Yeah.
licensed book. And I think they're better because what I like to do in the books that I make versus the ones that are officially endorsed or, endorsed in some way is to be more down to earth and more truthful about what happened at
Mm-hmm.
certain times throughout the history of these companies. When you're doing official stuff, you have to be pro product or pro company or
And they
whatever.
have to sign up on what you write and what you
Well, this is it.
talk
They may not
about.
like their dirty linen being shown in public. That type of thing.
Yeah.
So, with the unofficial line of things, now I'm not talking about decimating them or denigrating a company in any way. I would never do that because, these are fantastic companies. Without these companies, we wouldn't have the things that we have today. So, but I give honest insights to the failings and also the
The
good things that they
victories.
did. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Uh-huh.
So I think that's only fair for people to read.
Mm-hmm.
And we
Mm-hmm.
go off and I go off and I research three or four, maybe eight, up to eight things, in one subject just to get the information clarified. And I may talk to people that were actually there, get their
Yeah.
side of it and that type of thing. So the Atari book was actually a test run of Greyfox Books to see how difficult it was to do this, what was involved, how to do it. Then that was followed by my second project.
Sorry to interrupt you
Yeah,
there, but
sure.
what I was going to say is, if you go to the website and
Yeah,
look for this book and you check out the reviews,
yeah,
people just sing the praises of this book. It's an amazing book. The quality is absolute, so
yeah,
it shows that people really enjoyed. Uh, I would assume Atari fans
yeah. There would have
really
been
enjoyed
there,
this content.
there would have been a lot of Terry fans and Commodore fans because a lot of the stuff that's in the book came out on that as well. But the reviews and all the positive praise is absolutely phenomenal. And really, all it is that all I will take from that is I did the job. The job was done. If people look at the books and they get great enjoyment out of it and they love the way the thing, I give them nostalgia, or they're transported back to being an 8-year-old kid or 10-year-old kids, and that's represented visually and with the writing in the book. Then I've done my job. I'm very modest when it comes to notoriety. I'm not one for capitalizing with ego or anything like that. I wouldn't be the type of person, do you know who I am type of thing, or diva, or I work for this, I've done this. Please obey my every
Yeah,
command.
but it's not in the way of like getting all you know, all over people's faces. Like, look at what I did.
Yeah,
These are my
I wouldn't be
credentials.
running around with a jaw over my
But
head
it's
on.
nice for for people wondering who's behind this new book that we'll be talking about in a bit.
Yeah.
It's nice for people to know that previous works have been well received and were quality books and
Oh yeah, yeah,
quality publications that people could enjoy as well.
yeah.
So
And anybody that because the books that I do are crowd funded, your engagement, the people's engagement on the development of these books, is incredibly important. So when I'm making these books aren't about making money. They're not about, I'm not going to be the next J.R. Rowling, with the next Harry Potter story and all that. Um, I don't make the books to make money. I make the books to cover consoles and computers and subject matter that people want to see and read. And, the Atari book was very good for that because I covered a format that wasn't being covered. It just, I couldn't understand why isn't that getting that was just as good as this was. Yet there's 10 books on that and maybe 2 books on this. So I said, no, I need to really make this shine to the readers, not just the fans, But people that didn't know about it, my niece, she's only 7, and she's mesmerized by this stuff. And this stuff is like 40 years before she was even born, and that was the whole ethos of creating these books, is to transport those that remember it back to the time, and then show people that weren't around, this is what we were doing back in this time. And they get an education, they get to read about the stuff, they get to learn about the stuff. And there's even a part in that book that actually shows you how to actually get into emulation and actually experience these games. Now, although it's not the same as playing it with the real hardware, but there's things in that book that actually show you how to get up and start and get going with it.
Hmm.
Which I thought was a brilliant idea, to include. If you're going to talk about something, people may want to see it now, and this is how you do it. So I was delighted that I included that in the book and stuff like that. So
Okay.
the projects are really from the heart. They're not corporate in any way. I do this stuff because I love to make them, and I love to really synthesize the eras and the time frames and all in the books that I do.
Hmm.
Um, but
And and so you mentioned your Atari book. I wanted to mention the follow up,
yeah,
I believe, which was the arcade book as well.
yeah, the
Is
kind of
that correct?
arcade guide, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Would you
Now,
like to tell us a little bit about that?
yeah, absolutely. Believe it or not, that book was in production for 8 years. Um,
Okay.
that was actually about 3 to 4 years, maybe 5 years before I done the Atari book. That was actually supposed to be the first book to come out. It was originally going to be A5, which was quite small, but this was based on cost of printing and this type of thing. And when the success from the Atari book, which I did state to everybody that this will now go towards the arcade book, which is going to be coming out a year later. And it's a full size, annual size book. It's over 300 pages of over 160 to 180 arcade games with 2 page breaches. There's gatefolds in the book where you can expand it into 4 pages. So it's about 4 feet in length when you open these pages. And it's the very, very first arcade book of its kind. There's
Hmm.
no other arcade book. There's a lot of Sega stuff in there. With being the Sega Lounge,
Obviously.
we would have to mention all the Sega stuff that's in the book. And I was amazed at some of the amazing Sega games that I got to play through emulation, through MAME and that type of thing. And I have really included the very best of what Sega was doing in the 80s and 90s. It covers the 80s and 90s. There may be one or two that 97, 98 type of thing, but nothing goes beyond 2000.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that was met by massive reception. The Kickstarter
I
page,
have to tell you that I missed out on the Kickstarter,
yeah,
and I recently, actually, before we started talking about the upcoming Mega Drive book, I recently came across this, and I haven't bought it yet, but I'm really curious because it actually caught my eye, looking at the pictures that you have on the website, and even the
yeah,
stuff that I seen people share on social media as well.
right.
It looks really well made, and I'm really curious to see.
Yeah,
Obviously, very much because of the Sega stuff, but also for other games that I'm sure I featured as well.
well, there's a beautiful homage to one, a very famous Sega game that's everybody knows or played at some stage. You're a Sega fan, you played this. It's a Pacific driving game. I shouldn't really need to mention what that is, but there's a huge homage to that in the book as well. Um, the reason why you don't see these type of books, David, is because of the amount of work that's involved. Keep in
Mhm.
mind when you're looking at these pages, that's one person. I'm doing all the writing. I'm doing all the
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. So this was all done by you.
yeah, everything.
Okay,
There,
okay,
there's
that
there's
that's
no
amazing.
There's no four-man team or graphic designers or anything like that. Um, because of the amount of work that was involved, the extraction work, extracting sprites, putting them into the page, pictures, screenshots, logos, you know, there's over 700 images and screenshots in the book, and there's at least maybe 12 to 1500 composites in the book.
Mm-hmm.
And here's what's another thing that's mad about the arcade book is that every single page is different from the next. There's no,
Okay.
you know the way you see repetition of layouts?
Uh-huh.
That doesn't exist. It's not in this book.
Okay.
There's no repetition of the way the pages look. There's no similarities. Each game that's covered in the book, Sega, Konami, whatever, every one of them are uniquely designed around the game, and rather
Mm-hmm.
than just sticking by the rules of design, it's around the actual games themselves.
Yeah.
So that enhances when you're looking at a game. Essentially, I want you to look at this book without you needing to go play the game. You'll get your fix from just looking at the pages. And then if it puts you in the mood, absolutely. And there was some great feedback and comments on the Kickstarter page.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been able to put the book down. There is no other book like it. I actually, and I'm not blowing my own trumpet here, but I actually tried to find a book that even came remotely close. I bought I have a load of arcade books there in my library, and none of them, it's just maybe a single picture, black and white, maybe color if you're lucky, and maybe a couple of lines about the game itself. They won't be able to, a lot of publishers won't do this type of work because of the work involved. It's just the
Yeah.
logistics
Yeah.
are unrealistic
Mm-hmm.
to produce it. So the kind of book was, the second in the legacy of what Greyfox Books does. That when you get a book from us, you can't buy it anywhere else. You can only be, it's not on Amazon. I know a lot of people complained about that. Um, to just egregious tactics and the way they handle authors' books and stuff like that. I just didn't
Mm-hmm.
agree with it. You can only get the book from us. And it's not a thing to make you bottleneck you to come to Greyfox Books. I want you when you go to our website or my website that you're getting something exclusive. You know,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
a lot of people, I expect now, a lot of people will be buying it for Christmas presents because it's not in any bookstores. It's not in any Amazon sites. It's not on eBay. All these type of things. And realistically, it's to create something absolutely bespoke and unique, and that's what I'm going to be doing on the next project.
And it does indeed look unique. Yeah.
Mm,
And we're going to talk about the next project when we come back, Darren. We're going to talk
great.
about the Mega Drive book that I'm sure people tuning in are very excited about as well. But we're going to take a great break now. And when we come back, I also have a surprise for you, Darren. I
Okay,
hope you're excited for that.
I am. I'm starting to look around, looking over my shoulder here, saying, what's going on here? And I'm starting to think
Yes,
here.
yes.
Okay,
Voices from the past will emerge.
wow,
Maybe not. Maybe no.
oh,
That's not
that'll
not
be
that
good.
kind of show. No. We'll be right back.
No worries.
It's officially fan choice season over at Radio Sega. You may not know this, but every year the station asks their listeners to pick their favorite song from Sega games released in the previous 12 months, as well as the best community made remix released during the year. Before that final voting period, though, the month of November is all about the nominations. So right now, everyone can nominate their favorite 5 songs from Sega games released in the last 12 months. At the end of the nomination period, the 10 most nominated songs will make it to the final round. Got any particular banger you'd like to see voted Song of the Year? Check out the list of eligible games by going to radiose.ga/song of 2021. And while you're there, click the link to the survey and tell Radio Sega which Sega songs are in your top 5 of the year. That's radiose.ga/Song of 2021. Anyone can take part, and nominations close on December 5th. Welcome back, Darren. We're here with Darren from Greyfox Books. I'm really excited to know more. We ended up
Right.
talking about a lot of stuff
Okay.
before we got into that, but as I said before the break, I have a surprise. Okay, and
Right.
that surprise is called the SEGA Lounge Challenge.
Now that you know our guests, it's time to put them to the test. It's the moment we've waited for, and the moment they dread.
Welcome to your doom.
I mean, welcome to the SEGA Lounge Challenge.
Okay.
Okay, yes,
Right.
that's the kind of reaction I like. That
I'm not
a
nervous.
hint of fear in your voice. That's what I like. So, what is the SEGA Lounge Challenge, Darren? It's a thing I like to do with my guests, and it can be anything.
Okay.
But today you're working on a Mega Drive book. So, as you said before, if you're putting this up on Kickstarter, it means there was a lot of work done into it, or it's probably, I don't know, maybe practically finished.
Yeah, more
Yeah?
or less. Yeah, practically.
Okay.
It's in the proofreading stage at the moment.
Excellent. So that means you are a knowledgeable person, and you have a lot of Mega Drive knowledge just bursting at the seams. And what I want to do is to test that knowledge.
Okay, we can give it a go.
Are you up for it?
Yeah, yeah.
You
I'll
you have
probably
no
fall
choice,
flat in
but
my face.
I'm just asking to be polite.
I'll probably fall flat in my face, but yeah, give it a whack.
Okay, so this is what I call. So I've been doing this season with guests, something called the Ultimate Sega Fan Challenge.
Okay.
But I've tweaked it a little bit, and it's now the Ultimate Mega Drive Fan Challenge.
Okay.
After working on this, and I don't even know if you were a big Mega Drive fan before working on the book or not.
I believe it or not, I was probably I got exposure to the Mega Drive in 1988 when it 1st came out in Japan.
Okay.
Now I will admit, right, absolutely for the record, I did own a Mega Drive for a while, but I got unfortunately snookered over to the Nintendo fence with the Super NES. But I know. I'm holding my head down in shame. Believe me, it's been
The
out.
show is now over.
Dude,
Please leave the lounge.
flatline.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. So yeah, it's cool. It's cool. But I'm sure you've come to learn and appreciate the system a bit more.
Oh, I had a good few games on the Mega Drive. A friend of mine had got one in an import from Japan. Now a lot of money were, you know what I mean, and you know we weren't all working at the time. You know we were only teenagers or whatever, and you know he brought up this black mammoth, you know, beautiful white box. You know that was in. It was all the future and it was all futuristic 16-bit power and all this type of
high
thing.
definition
High
graphics.
definition graphics and you know blast processing and all this
Exactly.
mad stuff. And I'm there saying, "What is this?" Now we were on the computers. You know, we were still on the 16-bit Commodores and Amigas and STs and all this. And he brought this up, and he had his friend with him. This guy was like a security guard assisting him, you know, like a bodyguard, to bring this out. And he took it out, and it was all new to me. I said, "What is this thing?"
Did he like handcuff himself to the
He
Mega
did.
Drive?
He had a handcuff to the suitcase before he opened it, and all that good stuff. And he took it out, and he had Revenge of Shinobi, or no, not Revenge, Shinobi. The Revenge
3,
Shinobi,
perhaps.
yeah, the first Shinobi, and Rambo 3.
Okay.
And he plugged this in, and we switched it on, and I literally, I'm speechless. I said, this is an arcade. This is an arcade in the house. This is an arcade. And this is before Neo Geo and all this. Remember, you know, all these mad consoles came out. Even the Famicom, Super Famicom, wasn't even out at the time. and where you show me Shinobi and all, I'm blown away by the smooth scrolling of the game, the graphics. Rambo, when he shoots the Hind helicopter for the first time, I was literally, I actually said to the guy, look, I'll pay you £20 at the time, $20, whatever it was, to let me hold on to this for the weekend. This was a Friday he'd come up, and I'd offered him physical money
Okay.
to let me hold on to it. I says, I'll get me father to drive it down to your house, on Sunday morning. And he was real reluctant, and I said, look, I'll take amazing care of it. And I remember playing the Mega Drive, the very first, literally, I didn't even know about this. It wasn't in any magazines, I hadn't seen it, or any magazines I knew of. And played it till maybe 8 o'clock the following morning. He brought it up at about 6 in the evening, and played
Okay.
it till about 8 o'clock the following morning. Shinobi and I think I finished Rambo, but Shinobi now got really difficult later on. And that was my pinnacle experience with the Mega Drive. Just knew when it came out we had to get one, because it was called Mega Drive over here. It's Genesis in America,
Yes.
and all that type of stuff. So when it came out, I got Shinobi, got Rambo. I think I got Golden Axe as well. But then
Hmm.
when Streets of Rage came out, it was,
Excellent. Excellent.
just mind blowing. But a lot of money.
So that's exactly what I wanted to hear, because I'm gonna ask you some questions, Darren.
Yeah,
I'm gonna test your knowledge
right.
on this system. This is the ultimate Mega Drive fan challenge.
Okay.
The thing is, we have 10 questions here. So let's start with the first one. I think this is easy.
Okay.
Okay. What is the name of the duo of extraterrestrial rappers, who end up crash landing on Earth and going in search of their ship's missing pieces?
Is that Toll and Jam?
Are you familiar with this plot that I just
Duo looking for
described?
parts of their missing.
A duo of extraterrestrial rappers who end
Yeah.
up crash landing on Earth. And this is actually a series of games. And in the first one, they go in search of their ship's missing pieces on Earth.
Right, okay. The only thing I can think of where it involves walking around was Tall Jam and Earl. I may not have been familiar with those. As I said earlier on, I picked specific genres, so I wouldn't have been, picking up everything that came up. If it's a series of games, there's more than one. I'm unfamiliar with it, I have to say, and this is an easy question. I can only imagine what the hard questions are like. I'm probably going to kick myself in the backside now once you tell me. All right. The only thing I can think of, because I know Toll Jam and Earl got more than one game. I can't remember were they all on the Mega Drive. Because
So
there would have been a certain genre. I'm going to go with that, but I'm probably wrong.
you're going to go with Toe Jam and Earl.
Yeah,
Is
Toll
that
Jam.
it?
Yeah.
Toe Jam and Earl.
Mm. Yeah, maybe all the listeners are probably saying, "You gollywog, it's this."
So final answer, Toe Jam and Earl.
Yeah.
Right, Darren?
All right, gonna go with that.
Okay, we're going to lock it in. And I'm going to tell you that the second game was also on the Mega Drive.
Right.
It was something, and then the subtitle was Panic on Funkotron. The third game was on the Xbox.
Yeah.
And the fourth game was actually, or is, on modern systems.
Mm-hmm.
After a very long hiatus, they came back. Your answer, Toe Jam and Earl, is, however, correct, actually. Well done, 1 point.
Yeah,
Good
I have to say,
job.
Dave, you're brilliant at increasing the tension. I'm not going to lie to you.
That's like 50% of the challenge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're very good at it. You really have me thinking. Am I right here? Am I
Okay, yeah,
wrong? Am
yeah,
I
you were
robbed?
absolutely right. You struggled with the name at first, but then you got there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Tall
and
Ireland,
that's
yeah.
correct.
Tall Graham Ireland. It's not. It doesn't really fly off the tongue too good, does it? Really? Especially if you have a few drinks on you.
Okay, so 1 point. That's good. Let's go with question number 2 then. This is a hard question,
Yep.
but I know you've played this game because you told me before.
Okay.
What is the name of the rideable beasts you find in the Golden Axe games?
Wow, that is devilish.
Usually what people do is they say, "Oh, I remember there's this one and that one."
What are
They
the names
all
of them?
they each have names, but there is like a common group
You know,
name they
we
all
can talk
share.
about the type of beast you ride in Golden Axe, but knowing them names, I don't
All
know
of
them
all of
personally
them,
now.
whatever species they are all named one common
Yeah.
group name.
Um, we have it. Well, in you ride a dragon. You ride. It's this Golden Axe one now we're talking about, yeah.
Yes.
You ride a dragon, a sort of biped dragon. One that looks like a hog with a large tail for whiplashing. What was the other one? Oh God, I know. I know. I'm going to be kicking and pinching myself
We
here.
need a
This is a really
name
good
for all
question,
of
I have to
them.
say.
We need a name for all of them.
I wouldn't be able to tell you a name. I can only tell you the type of creature they were. The name that's too hard.
So
That's
that dragon, that other thing. What if you had to like give them all a common like type of creature name? What would it be?
oh God. Um, oh, you have me here. You have me betting this. I'm going to get zero in this quiz. I know I am. It's just
You already have a point, so you're not going to get
yeah, one
zero.
whole point. And I'm bringing a book out on the subject, and you can only score a point. What's this guy know? He knows nothing. Um, I wouldn't know. I genuinely would not know.
Okay,
What
so
it would be.
something weird, something like I don't know.
I don't know, Dave. I actually give up.
So you don't know?
No, go on.
Want to
Put
know
me out of my
the
misery.
correct answer? Yeah, yeah. Okay. So the correct answer was Bizarrians. They are
What were
all
they?
Bizarrians.
Bizarrians.
So they are bizarre. So they are Bizarrians, perhaps. So there's one called Chicken Leg. There's another one that I can't remember the name. As you said, there's a dragon. There's whatever. They are all the creatures, the beasts that you ride are Bizarrians.
Bizarrians.
And that's all in all of the Golden Axe games.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so no worries. No worries. We have more questions. More questions. What I'm going to do is, since, this is with just questions, it's kind of hard. So I'm going to give you questions of different difficulty levels. And we're aiming for 10. So we've got 1 out of 10. Let's see if we can get the second one. Okay. So the next question is, are you familiar with Sonic the Hedgehog?
Yes.
Yes. You've seen him around, right?
Absolutely. Only last week.
What was the name given to several prototypes of Sonic the Hedgehog by his designer Naoto Oshima? So before he was called Sonic, the man who came up with what was the closest thing to the final design of Sonic,
Yeah.
gave him a different, like a working name, temporary name. Do you know what it was?
I do. Because during my research on the book, I actually cover this. Mr. Needle Mouse.
Mr. Needle Mouse.
Yeah.
Like a mouse with needles.
Yeah, Mr. Needle Mouse, because of the spikes on the back of his hair.
So you think that would be the name that a Japanese person would give a hedgehog?
Yeah.
Which later
Which was,
we've come to know as Sonic.
yeah, which was combined. Yeah.
So final answer.
Final answer.
No doubts about it.
More or less 95%. But your fantastic audible manipulation is making me doubt it, but I'm going to go with Mr. Needle Mouse.
And you are correct. It is Mr.
Woo!
Needle Mouse. Well
Woo!
done. Good
Faith restored.
job. Two out of 3. That's not bad at all. Okay.
Achievement unlocked.
Achievement unlocked. Okay, let's go with number 4. We're going to go with something a little bit harder.
Okay.
But actually, this is a question I've done before. And people usually, surprisingly, can give me the answer. So I don't know, maybe, I don't know. It's a multiple choice question.
Okay.
In stage 4 of Streets of Rage 2, which is the baseball stadium,
Yeah.
which of the following options is a sentence that you can see in the background of the stage? Okay, so which one is the right one that appears in the game?
Okay.
Is it A, it's like boo! Exclamation mark. It's like boo. Option B, Dodgers forever. Dodgers forever.
Okay.
Or C, play ball! Exclamation mark.
I think it's play ball.
So option C,
C.
play ball.
Yeah.
Okay, so not it's like boo or Dodgers forever.
See, you're making me doubt. You're making me there. You know, this is, you should be
I'm
on
just
Who Wants to Be a
I'm just
Millionaire.
making sure of your answer.
I think it's play ball.
So final answer. Option
Final answer,
C,
play ball.
play ball.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you that Dodgers forever is not in the game. It's not in the game.
Okay.
There is another sentence that is indeed like in the background, which is do exclamation mark baseball exclamation mark
Wow.
do baseball. But is it's like boo or play ball?
I'm almost sure it's play ball.
The answer is it's like boo. Believe it or not, it's like boo. What does that mean? I don't know.
That's just somebody creatively just putting something in there to, fill in that graphic or whatever. So that's a real Mandela effect then. Because I'm almost sure that's what it was,
Yeah. Okay. There is one do baseball. So the do baseball is there as well, but that was not
the same as play baseball though, is it?
Yeah, it's play ball,
So
but
I
it's
got
not play
that one
ball.
wrong.
Yeah. Okay. So no points there, but let's keep going. Number 5. Okay. Let's see if you can tell me. Let's go with another Mega Drive question. In Outrun, what brand of cars do you drive?
So I'm going to go with Ferrari Testarossa.
Not a Lamborghini or something. No. You're going to go with a Ferrari.
Yep.
And it's correct, of course.
Awesome.
You had to know this, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'd never lived it down if I didn't get that right.
Okay, good job. Let's go back to, and this one is a little bit hard. Let's see. You mentioned Shinobi before. Let's see. In round 6 of the Japanese version of The Revenge of Shinobi, which is actually titled The Super Shinobi in Japan.
Yeah, Super Shinobi, yeah.
Yeah, but in round 6, you fight a boss called the Metamorpher, who takes on 2 forms both resembling two very famous comic book heroes. Name one of them.
Spider-Man is one of them, as far as I remember.
And you think Sega had like permission from Marvel to use the resemblance of Spider-Man or something?
Absolutely not. He also had Rambo, I think, in it as well.
So Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, yeah.
You think Spider-Man is in The Revenge of Shinobi?
Hmm.
And you are correct. Yes.
Yay,
So the
woo.
Metamorpher,
There you go.
the first form is Spider-Man, the second form is Batman.
Batman.
Neither of them were licensed. Although,
Wow. I don't know how Sega got away with that now.
and Rambo is, an enemy that looks a lot like Rambo is in there as well. They call it Rocky, though.
Yeah, yeah.
But apparently Sega had the license for the Spider-Man arcade game, and they wanted to promote the game, the arcade game, in The Revenge of Shinobi, but they didn't have the license, I think.
So that was,
But yeah.
that was to justify the legalities of it.
But then I think in later revisions they did get that license, and they still used it. But the later revisions of the game showed that they had they were using Spider-Man as licensed by Marvel. Yeah.
I know.
Well done.
This is the thing. This is the beauty about this time frame, is the things that they got away with, the things that they included in games and they'd no right to be there in the
That's true.
first place, and all that type of good stuff. That's what makes them amazing.
Yeah,
You won't see that in new games today. Things that shouldn't be there.
exactly.
It's a rarity now.
Uh-huh. Very good. So we've got 4 questions left. You have 4 correct answers. So
Great.
one more gives you like 50%. So
Brilliant.
not bad. Let's see what happens. Next question. Ready, Darren?
Yeah.
Okay. In the original Sonic the Hedgehog for the Mega Drive, what is the code you need to input in the title screen to unlock level select? You have to press buttons on your controller to bring up the level select screen.
Wow. These are vicious. These are absolutely vicious.
Thank
These
you very much.
questions.
Thank you.
I think you have to go to the sound test in the options menu.
I'm gonna give you a hint and stop you right there and say that there is no sound test in Sonic 1.
Oh,
At
right.
least not without unlocking it. So what you need to do is to just press buttons on your controller
All right,
in a certain order.
A, B, or C in a specific formation.
Yep.
Oh God, this is going back a long time. Like
What would you
90?
do to unlock level select?
On the directional pad, you press up. I'm going to go with sort of like a 4 formation. So I'm going to go up, down, left, and right. Yeah, that's pure guess. I'm
So,
up, down, left, and right, like a 4, like a
okay.
4 formation.
Yep. So
Right,
up,
it's on
down,
the side.
left, right. So the D-pad then.
Yeah.
Anything from the other buttons there? A, B, C, something? Maybe not. I don't know.
Maybe hold down start when you're doing it. So hold down start, maybe go up, down, left, and right.
Mm-hmm. So
I remember you get a chime to tell you you've done it.
That is true.
But The last time I would have done something like that would have been back in 1991. I didn't play. I didn't play. I haven't played Sonic One in years now. Although I was playing it, I had a quick go with there to grab some screenshots for the book.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been years since I played
This
it.
would
Now,
have been useful to get like screenshots from the later levels without playing the game.
yeah, I know the game is as tough as nails, like you know what I mean. But I love the exploration in it and stuff like that.
I still think it really holds up well today.
Oh
I
yeah,
know I wouldn't say not many people, but some people don't think Sonic 1 holds up as well as others. And I agree, Sonic 2 is a better game and Sonic 3
well,
Knuckles, but I still very much enjoy playing Sonic 1.
well, I think Sonic, made an amazing impact. Remember they were going to go with Alex Kidd, I think, as the mascot for Sega, and this was just the right thing. The way the game played and stuff. There was no game that ran as quick and stuff like that. The graphics may not have aged too well, but they're still used today. The same style, the same presentation. In my opinion, it's the same as it always was. So it's a classic. So you can't dethrone a classic.
Very true.
Even if the games that came after were better.
Mm-hmm.
That was what made. That's what defined Sonic when it came
Mm-hmm.
out.
Mm-hmm. And so to unlock level select, you hold start and up, down, left, right.
Yeah, I'm really stretching my memory here. I don't know if you held down B or A but I definitely remember holding start down
Mm-hmm.
and up, down, left, right.
Okay. So the correct answer is you press up, down, left, right, and then you hear a ring sound,
Mm-hmm.
and then you press A and start. That would be the correct combination. You couldn't hold down start because if you hold down start, it just starts the game, right?
Yeah.
So that would be you had to do that after the ring sound, confirming that the up, down, left, right was okay, and then A plus start would
And
take
actually,
you
to
to the level
activate the
select.
level select, it's the start and A that actually bring it up.
Yep, indeed.
Right, I get you.
That's exactly it.
Right.
Okay.
I
But it's
definitely
okay.
remember
You
being
were
the
very,
control
very
because
close. Very, very close.
yeah,
Okay. Question 8, Darren. Ready? We're
yeah.
almost done with this torture. What name is given to the combination of a Mega Drive, a Mega CD, a 32X, and usually a Sonic and Knuckles cartridge with another Sonic game attached to it? So if you put all of these things together, all the Mega Drive and all the add-ons, the 32X, the Mega CD, and then you put a Sonic and Knuckles cartridge that opens, and you attach another Sonic game, for example, on it. What do you call that? That monstrosity.
That's. I know there's definitely multiple slang names for this and multiple slang words for it and all. I wouldn't be able to tell you because I know that they used to call the 32X the Sega Mushroom and stuff like that. But combined together, I'm only going to say the Ultimate Mega Drive setup.
It goes really, it gets really, really high, right? So,
Yeah,
if you put all of these together, it looks like something.
Tower, Mega Drive Tower, maybe.
And it's very, all that processing, it's probably a very high thing that has a lot of something. So
I know you're doing your best to help me here, Dave. It's not working. Oh god. Oh god.
so it's the Tower of. You said tower already. You're right. It's the Tower of. Because it's the Mega Drive,
Power of Power.
the Mega CD, the 32X. It is the Tower of Power, of course. Yes.
Remember now.
Yes.
Power of Power.
1 point. Good job. It is the Tower of Power. The Sega Tower of Power. Yes. Yes. Okay. Good job. Good job.
Good stuff.
Okay. Let's go with the last couple of questions. Okay. Let's see if you can tell me the correct answers to these questions. Okay, this is going to be a hard one, I'm sure, but maybe not. I don't know. Have you played World of Illusion with Mickey and Donald?
Mickey Mouse, yeah.
Yeah. This in World of Illusion, how do Mickey and Donald attack their enemies? And if you've played the game, if you've seen something about the game, try to remember, what they do.
Well, I have to say, your choice of questions are brilliantly researched, because it's just something that you don't, think of, and you're there saying to yourself, what way can I do this and stuff like that. It's obviously co-op play.
It can be co-op, it can be solo.
Yeah.
So, but they both do the same thing. Do you know the plot, so to speak, of the game?
I would.
They're magicians, so
Yeah.
they're in a world of illusion.
Illusion, that's right. Yeah.
So how would they?
I remember now.
What would they do to?
They'll attack their enemies with the swish of their capes, depending on which character you're using.
Their capes. Okay.
Yeah.
Not like wands or something.
No,
it's capes.
I can't remember.
Capes,
It took a long time since I played it.
I'm making it worse. Yes, it's capes.
Yeah,
yes.
you're adding in extra things. You're bringing in tanks and everything, and wands and.
Yes, that is not. The wands are not in the game, so no, it's the capes, of course. Yes, they actually, depending on how, if you're too far away from the enemy, they get like freeze for a second or so.
Yep.
But if you do like a full blown attack, they turn into birds or something like that. So
right.
And that means you've defeated the enemy. So that's exactly it. They use their capes to attack their enemies. Good job.
Yeah.
Well done. That's it.
I'm sweating here profusely here with the stress and everything else that goes with it.
Okay.
I really am.
I have good news for you, though.
Yep.
You've given me 6 correct answers, so you're in the clear. You're over 50%, but I still have to ask the final question.
Right.
Okay. So this will be the final one. And let's see if you can tell me the correct answer. Have you played Echo the Dolphin?
No.
Okay, so this will not go well. What is the name? Do you know the story, more or less?
No? I
like
have
a sci-fi game, believe it or not.
I was never a huge fan of the game, because you can throw in a dolphin, you're swimming around. Yeah. But I do know it's really good.
You fight aliens, believe it or not. So So what is the name of the alien race who are the main antagonists in the Mega Drive Echo the Dolphin games? What would you call the race of aliens who kidnap Echo's family or pod and a lot of other sea creatures?
No, there's no way. That's trying to ask me, what games are coming out next year, or what's the ending of this game going to be out that's coming out next year? I wouldn't have a Scooby on what that would be.
Would you care to just? This is not a necessary question, so you're in the clear. Just for fun.
It's sort of like, the 32K is in the bank, so no whatever question you get, you can still walk away with 32K. No, there's no.
What would you
way.
call? What would you call an alien race who kidnaps, sea creatures and tries to eat them as well?
No, I'm not even going to make a guess. Because I know if I say
It's
something,
okay.
the wagon pipe race, I don't know. I've
Not many
no
people
idea.
know this, believe it or not. So the correct answer is the vortex. The vortex.
Vortex.
It's hard. Not many people guess this.
I actually know. I know that I've heard that about Eco about your. I think it was on the Dreamcast, Defenders of the Future.
The Fender of the Future, but that's a different plot because
Yeah,
it's not by the creator of Echo, the original Echo games.
yeah.
So it's a little bit different.
But
There are
wasn't the Vortex
similarities,
in
but
that as well?
yeah, but it's
And
it's a
that's
little bit
where
different.
I remember they were up against a thing called the
Mhm.
Vortex because Tom Baker does the narration.
He does,
Um,
yeah.
and it was that where I remember him talking about the vortex,
Mm.
and
So
that's
yeah,
where I remember
so
from. But I would have never known it because
it,
I
it's
never
it's it's
played
a
them.
hard. It was a hard question, but you got 6 points out of the possible 10. So that means, Darren, that after all this torture, you get the highly coveted SEGA Lounge seal of approval, which I will send your way on Twitter right now. So congratulations!
Oh,
You should
thanks
be
very
proud
much.
of
I'm
yourself.
relieved. I'm actually just glad the ordeal is over, David. To be honest with you, you know what I mean. I've
That
only had to take one Prozac now to.
You did great. You did great. This is not for the faint of heart.
It
I
isn't.
have to tell you, yeah. But you get the Sega Lounge seal of approval, and you get to tell me about the Mega Drive book you're working on,
Right.
which we're very excited about. So the Mega Book collection, right?
Yeah. Right.
So tell me about it, please.
Right. So again, I feel that the system, although we've got loads of books on the Mega Drive and Genesis and all this type of stuff, and there's some brilliant stuff out there. Again, I see them not being covered in the way fans should see the book being covered. I feel that from the lineage that the Mega Drive and the Genesis had, it needs to be done in some visual form. It's great again seeing the books with a little post stamp picture and a little bit of a write up, and some of them covered the history of Sega. There was a book there produced there a couple of years back from a company called Read Only Memory about
Yep.
the Mega Drive, and it showed
By
schematic.
another Darren Wall.
Darren Wall, yeah. Schematics of the Mega Drive. There's some really
Hmm.
great exclusivity in it, and it's a fantastic book. Absolutely, if you're Mega Drive fan, you really need to have this book in your collection. It's one of those books that shows you the most intimate things you'd have never seen. You won't see most of this stuff on the internet, and it's a really really fantastic book. But
Definitely.
as great as it was, I found it to be incredibly minimalistic. Single images on one page. Now, I understand why they did that. They want to give presence to the items and stuff like that, but it's just not the way I would want to see the Mega Drive being celebrated. And I wanted to create a book that, straight away instantly recognized the imagery from it, instantly recognized the game, and deliver such a rich visual content that it looks like you were looking at it on a screen or you were looking at it on, as if it was on a handheld. So what I decided to do was, I says, I really want to uh, make a Mega Drive book for fans that they deserve, that a book sort of that they've been waiting for this type of style to present all their favorite games. Now obviously there's going to be games in here. It was the same with the arcade book. Why wasn't this game included? You included this game, why wasn't this one? I didn't see my favorite game. When you're making these type of things, you have to make executive decisions based on page count and all this. And if plausible, I'd have covered every single game that I could. But then the book would take 10 years to make because there's so much stuff on the Mega Drive and Genesis and what have you. So what I did was I says, right, I know I'm going to cover the Mega Drive, but I never seen a book. Maybe you can correct me here, David. A book that covered all three add-on, all three elements of the Sega 16-bit days. So what I've actually done is I've combined the Sega Mega Drive in its own chapter, its own collage, and its own section, and then did one for the Mega CD and the 32X in one book. Right? So what I've done is I've taken the design aesthetics that you will instantly associate with a Sega Mega Drive, the grids and all this stuff, and then all the other formats like the Mega CD and the Sega CD have their own look as well. Even though the content layout is similar, you'll know that you're reading about a Mega CD game, or you'll know you're reading about a 32X game, or you'll know you're reading about a Mega Drive game. But didn't want to leave it there. I wanted to reach out to the community, and I managed to get 12 contributors to submit their personal homages to these games that are covered in the book. So the book is written by me. The majority will be written by me. The features that are going to be in there. So each section of the book, so you've got your Mega Drive, your Mega CD, and your 32X, Sega CD, blah, blah, blah. And I write a 4-page feature on the history of those things. So the Mega Drive, you'll get a brief history timeline of the pros and cons of what they went through, what Sega did with America and all this type of stuff. It sort of covers the history line, so you get a good. If you're not familiar with them, you'll learn hopefully a bit. And I include that bit about Sonic, Mr. Needlemouse, and that type of thing, because I thought stuff like that needs a lot. Not maybe a lot of people know it. I know die-hard fans will, but not a lot of people will know it. So that gets covered in it. Then you get a barrage of games to look through. What I done with this, which was never being done really in a book, was I managed to get imagery of the box art and include that as well in the game. So you're going to see a main image from the game, 2 smaller screenshots, and the actual box art. Then you'll have your write-up about the game, what made it amazing, and there may be trivia in there. There may be some facts that you didn't know about will be in there. Then you get a breakdown of who developed it, what year it came out, who published it. So there is lovely information there to read about. And it's going to be a 10 by 10 inch square book, hardback book. All right. Now, the cover, when I was designing the cover, wanted to really focus on when you see this, you know it's Sega. There's no doubt about that it's not Sega. Now, I can't really talk about the plans I have for the physical when it comes out physically, but you're going to be blown away by it. It won't be your standard hardback cover. Right, so that's all I'm going to say about that. But I cover each section. Mega CD gets its own 4 pages on the history of it. 32X is the same. I also do a Streets of Rage feature, 6-page Streets of Rage feature about the history of the games and stuff like that. All very much drenched in the Streets of Rage ethos. There's a software company profile in it. I'm not going to say what that one is, who the company is, but they did a lot on the Mega Drive and a lot on the Mega CD as well. But it's mainly all about the games. And I spent an awful lot of time, perfecting the visual aspects of the book. So when you pick this book up, you're instantly in Sega Land. You're instantly back to your Mega Drive days. But what I've done is, which I've never seen in a book for the Mega Drive or Sega, is I've really, really made the imagery pop. So when you're seeing it, you're going to see every single pixel. It'll be vibrant. It's going to really leap out at you. Because you know the way they always say that the Mega Drive color palette, is muted and, it's dull or whatever it would be. That's not the case, going to be the case in this book, because I made sure that any images that I took were high fidelity imagery.
Mm-hmm.
So it really is going to pop out at you. Now, what I plan to do, like I do with all the Greyfox books, is we obviously go to Kickstarter to crowdfund this. Now, the campaign will run for about 45 days. It's not to ensure that funding is met. It's to ensure that people coming late or finding out. I had an awful lot of that with the arcade book. A lot of people didn't know about it, and um,
So you're giving people a little bit of extra time to get
yeah,
the word out and spread the word amongst their friends and stuff like that.
yeah. So Kickstarter is very, very good at promoting these type of things. Now it does help, when you're getting the word spread by myself and others like yourselves, and all that amazing stuff. You know, Again, as I said earlier on, it really, really is about getting the project funded for the fans. It's not about the money. I want this book as much as the next Mega Drive fan does. Um, I think that, it sort of separates that anything that we sort of do takes time coming out, but when it does, it's really going to be what you've been looking for or didn't know you wanted,
Yeah.
type of thing. And
Hmm.
don't get me wrong, there's so many amazing books out there, so many amazing publishers, authors, writers, and deservedly so. You should buy their books. The books are phenomenally good.
This is the book that you wished people would do, or the kind of book that you want to do. So it's different because of that.
I think what it is really got to do how well I know the subject matter, because I'm creating stuff that I know I would like, but
Hmm.
because I know so much about the games and played these games, lived through that time frame playing these games, I just feel a picture on a piece of white paper with a bit of writing isn't really the essence of the games, if that makes sense. So
Hmm.
I try to encapsulate that with the pages that I design and create. That it's heavy on visuals. It gives you the nostalgia hit that you want, and you read about it. And as I said, I have about 12 contributors to the book, and some of the stuff they've actually written is absolutely brilliant. I've absolutely loved reading, because it's all
Hmm.
about their personal nostalgia. They talk about the game, what it impacted on them, how good the game is if you've never played it. Now, as we all know, collecting these games now is very expensive now, with the scalping that goes on
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
these uh, sealed editions and all, going for absorbent amount of money, which is despicable, I think. Um, but I really want to create a book that you can pick up, look at, and say, "Wow, I remember this game. Wow, I'm going to play this now. I'm going to boot that up." It's all about the capturing of the nostalgia, and it's also a fantastic reference to people that may see games in this book that they never played or they never seen. Now, even when I cover the Mega CD, we all know that it was absolutely infested with FMV games and stuff. There's no FMV games in the book.
Okay.
I purposely left them out because, um, they were mediocre at best. So maybe Night Trap probably deserved to be in there, but um, I just want,
Mostly for historical reasons,
yeah,
perhaps.
this straight to video release that was known as FMV games at the time were so bad, and I didn't want to include that in. Maybe I should have. Maybe there'll be a few people that say, "Why isn't there no FMV games?" I wanted to cover the games that sort of pushed the hardware. As you
Hmm.
know, the Mega CD had amazing scaling sprite scale and stuff that was virtually never used in a lot of the
Hmm.
games, and I wanted to include all that type of stuff. So, who knows? I may do a follow up book for it and include FMV games this time, but
There you go. That's
it,
an idea.
it was very difficult to decide what games that went in and what didn't. And I wanted to create a variety of games that everybody can relate to.
Hmm.
There's RPG games in there, there's action games, there's strategy games, there's platform games. All this,
Hmm.
I really did spend an awful lot of time deciding what went in. It was very hard, and I know
Yeah, I'm
I've missed
sure.
loads. I know there's going to be a lot that aren't in there, but the book is going to be about 300 pages worth of content.
The big takeaway from this is people should go to Kickstarter and back this project. When are you expecting, to be able to deliver
Right.
the finished product?
Right. So, what I want everybody to do, if they go on Twitter, if they're on Twitter, obviously follow the SEGA Lounge on Twitter, for news, and also follow Greyfox Books at Greyfox Books. Um, there'll be announcements made on when things are happening and how they're happening and all that, and there'll be regular updates and all that. I love to keep the backers in every single stage of the process.
Hmm.
So if you like that, if you like to be involved in a project, something a favorite pastime of yours, I love to keep you guys in the loop. Even if a pin drops, I'll let you know that a pin has dropped. So the project is going to run for 45 days. So I would estimate that it would close maybe on the 3rd or 4th of January 2022.
Hmm.
Um, and estimate, because the book is more or less finished and made, realistically, the logistics will be based on the time frame that Kickstarter release the funding to me to be able to then go to my printer. They're not going to start printing now, and not be paid beforehand. So normally it's about 2 weeks after the campaign, 2 to 3 weeks that funds get released to you, and then I literally the printers will be paid up front for everything. I'm hoping to have the printer do the fulfillment. It should that will really, really take a lot of pressure off me, because the last book I did all the fulfillment and it was absolutely mind blown.
Yeah, yeah.
We
I can
funded.
imagine that. Yeah.
We started in August, funded in September, and everybody had their books all over the world by December.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
that's unheard of, right? So it near killed me. I'm not going to lie. I had to take a month off work to do all the packing and shipping, and all the perks that were on the arcade book were ridiculous. There was t-shirts and cushions and posters, and I had to decide, is he a large, is he a medium, and do all that, work all that out. So it was an amazing experience, brilliant experience, but no, I think once is enough.
Yeah.
Um, so uh, the book should be fulfilled. If it is a case where I do have to fulfill it, it won't make any difference anyway. Everybody will still get their books, but these guys are real pros. They know what they're doing. So um, I would estimate, from January, funding taking place, production, depending on the amount of books as well. Keep in mind, there may be a medium to large number that back the book, or then it could be astronomical. Um, like Bitmap Books, they when they were funding on Kickstarter, there were
Hmm.
3,000, 4,000 books and stuff like that. So obviously, if there's a higher volume of books to be made, it's obviously going to take the time. But
Obviously. Yeah. Yeah.
I have an agreement with the printers that the minute the first 1,000 are made, they'd be shipped out. Minute the
Hmm.
second 1,000, and so on. So I might even do it in 500 increments. So I would estimate roughly you're looking at April next year, maybe May, but it'll be no later than that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that sounds great. So, Darren, we've learned a lot about you, about your previous projects. This new project that I'm sure our listeners are very excited about. And as you said, just follow Greyfox Books on Twitter. It's been great to have you on the show and to talk
It'd be
about
fantastic to talk with you,
this new
Dave.
project. I have one question that I always ask my guests at the end of the interview,
Okay.
and I don't think it's ever been as appropriate as today. And the question is, if you could add blast processing to anything in the world, what would it be and why?
Um, the longevity of life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'd add blast person that, you know, you live for a very long time, and that it's a blast all the way from start to finish. You're not here. We're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'd attach it to the lifespan of awesome people, especially
Not
the Sega
just
community.
not
They're
just
really awesome.
a long time, but quality time, right?
Yeah,
So
and
quality
have a
of
blast doing
life.
it. So that's your
Yeah,
blast
yeah.
process intervention there.
That's a great answer. That's a great. I think an answer we can all get behind.
Yeah, 100%.
Darren, thank you very much for coming on to the SEGA Lounge. So people listening, don't forget, check out the Kickstarter project and get this awesome Mega Drive book that
Yeah,
Darren's been
let's make
working
it
on.
happen, guys, because
Let's make it happen.
you know, at the end of the day, the book is for you guys. It's purely for your, you know, preservation and everything else. And if you're into other stuff, you're into classic arcade games and stuff like that, definitely check out Greyfox Books. We've only got 2 books up there, but with your help, you know, everybody's help on these projects, you know, I have at least another 6 books that I could definitely bring to all the fans, whether it be arcade, Sega, or whatever. Um, you know, there was a little sneak peek that I was working on a Sony book as well. So all this stuff is only made possible from the input from you guys and the support from you guys. It's like anything really. You guys need to nurture the stuff into happening, and I'm definitely up for the journey to bring an absolutely brilliant book to you, a book that you will want to show people and what have you. So
Yeah.
definitely do check it out. You know, stay in tune with the Sega Lounge, 100%. And just thanks for everything. Thanks for allowing me to be able to make this stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm sure only 2 books for now, but let's make it 3 very, very soon.
Yes,
With
we
this Mega
definitely
Drive
need
book.
to revisit. You can't really have one Sega book only covering a small little amount of what really is out there. And what if I ever do decide, if my schedule allows me to, I will ask the community what they would love to see, and we'll go make it together.
So if people want more Sega books, they'll need to share their input on that as well.
Share the love. That's it. Share the love.
Okay, Darren, thank you very much for coming on the show.
No
and
problem.
Let's talk again soon.
Hopefully.
Thank you again to Darren Doyle for coming on the show. It's my pleasure to tell you that Mega Book Collection is now live on Kickstarter. At the time of recording this, it's a bit under 35% funded, with 27 days left to go. That means there's plenty of time for you to get behind this project and get some of the nifty extra rewards like postcards, coasters, or even a copy of Ira the Crow Maiden from our friends at Second Dimension Games. You can find the link to the Kickstarter project in the show notes. And that's about it for this week's show. We'll be back next week for what will probably be our final interview of the season. That's right, we've got some special shows lined up to wrap up the season, so next week's will be the final interview. It'll be a good one though, I promise. Thank you for listening, And remember to follow the SEGA Lounge on your podcast app of choice so you don't miss any of our upcoming episodes. Until next week, take care, have fun, and stay safe. Bye-bye! The SEGA Lounge, hosted by me, KC, and part of Radio Sega's network of live shows and podcasts. Theme song and incidental music by OSC. Find them at opussciencecollective.bandcamp.com. Got any suggestions? Drop me an email to podcast@thesegalounge.com. Follow us on Twitter @thesegalounge and like us at facebook.com/thesegalounge. You can find previous episodes of the show by going to thesegalounge.com and wherever fine podcasts are downloaded. A Mixed On Productions podcast.